Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be using a couple different lawn fawn sets to create this card today. The first one I'm using is the How You Bean stamp set. I'm using the jar and the lid, and I'm stamping the jar out on MFT's Grout Gray cardstock. And then I'm stamping the lid on Cement Gray cardstock. Next, I've grabbed some ghosts from the Spooktacular stamp set, and I'm going to stamp those both on vellum as well as Neenah cardstock, and I'm using Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink for both of these. Next, I'm going to create the label that will go on my jar. So I've got a scrap piece of Black Recollections cardstock here, and I pulled in the Sentiment Happy Halloween. This is from the Candy Corn add-on set, which is made to coordinate with the How You Bean stamp set. I'm going to stamp this out using Versamark ink, and then I'll go ahead and heat set that using Simon Says Stamp Fine Detail White Embossing Powder. Here for my inside panel, I went with the sentiment "You Are Spooktacular," and I'm stamping that out using Stampin' Up! Calypso Coral, which is going to match my card base really well. So here I'm showing you those vellum pieces that I had stamped, and I'm taping all of those down to the back of a cardboard box, and then taking my heat gun and just making sure that those are nice and dry, because vellum will smear really easily. You could also go ahead and add some embossing powder, or stamp them out in Versamark ink and add some embossing powder and heat set that. It would work just as well. So here you can see I've used my coordinating dies to cut out the label and the jar and the lid, and I'm cutting an additional jar out of some acetate. Next, I'm going to start filling up that jar with my ghosts. So with the vellum ghosts, you're going to see any type of adhesive that you would put behind them. So I'm trying to strategically place those so that I will have a little piece of the white ghost overlapping, and that way I can cover up any of the glue marks that might be showing. Now you'll also see off to the side there, I've got my card base, and I had trimmed out a piece of this pattern paper to use as my background. Just ignore that for now. When I finished with the jar and put the ghost down on top of it, I actually went through and finished the whole card, but I just didn't like the way it looked. It was way too busy. So you'll see later I'm going to pull in, I actually ended up taking the card apart, and I pulled in a different piece of pattern paper, and I will include that a little later on in the video. So now that I have my jar full of ghosts, I wanted to have a few escaping. I grabbed my fingertip craft knife and just ran that along the edge of the jar there on one of the stamped lines. That way I could have the ghost escaping and just tuck him partially behind. Next, I'm trimming off the top portion of the jar that I cut out of the acetate. That's a little difficult to see, but I didn't want that to be covering the ghost that was sneaking out. I've also grabbed my label and attached that down using art glitter glue. And here, that label is going to allow me to add some Scor-Tape behind there so I can place the acetate on top of the jar. And that helps to keep the ghost sort of in there, but it also gives it that nice shine that you would expect from a jar like this. So again, I've added some Scor-Tape to the back of that lid. I've tucked it behind the ghost and sort of off to the corner there as if he's, somehow got it unscrewed and escaping. I'm going to add a bunch of Scor-Tape to the back. And then, as I said, I had put this card together, but I really didn't like the background paper. It was just too busy. So here I've picked out a darker background, just a black with a white polka dot, trimmed that down to 4 by 5 1/4, and also trimmed off another little strip there measuring about 1/2 inch wide for the inside panel. I've added a TG gun to the back of that, and I'll place that down on my card base. This card base is made from MFT's Persimmon cardstock. Again, I'm going to add a bunch of Scor-Tape to the back of that, and I'll go ahead and place that down on the top of my card. There you can see I also added one of those vellum ghosts and just tuck that behind the other ghost that is escaping. And here I'm going to grab a third one. I'll add a little bit of art glitter glue and place him down up in that top corner there. Here I'll grab that extra stripe of paper, add some ATG to the back, and place that on the inside panel. And then finally I'll finish off by adding a little bit of shimmer to both of those white ghosts that have escaped there. And this is my Nouveau shimmer pen. And that will complete the card. Here are a few close-ups of the finished card. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.